Welcome back, everybody. My name is Raze Chaos. You've made it back to my channel, and Raze is so freaking excited, and he's happy, and he is, oh goodness. Raze, if you didn't already know, Raze was a big Sandman fan. And if you couldn't tell, yeah, Raze has got the Endless right there. He's got Dream right there. Why is there a Harley Quinn picture right here? That's Jamie Koala. She's the one who actually wrote this and did the intro to this video. Yeah, she is a really great artist, and really, I mean, you hear a lot of people say self-made, but she is self-making. She has taken a lot of strides, and she does amazing work. So Raze puts information to the people that do the intros in the comments, or not in the comments, but in the description box. So this is one that you definitely want to check out, because she is working on something special from what I understand. So wanted to go ahead and include her on this one because, well, I mean, she makes everything better. Anyway, today Raze is very excited because Raze is going to talk about Dream.
I am the King of Dreams, ruler of the nightmare realms.
He is going to talk about Sandman. Now, that can be a bit confusing when Raze says, hey, I'm doing a Sandman video. Why does that get confusing? Because there have been 7 Sandman. 7 characters have been the Sandman. To go, I cannot do it in any particular order because if you're going by, I mean, no matter how you do it, if you try and trace the lineage of each of them and how they merge together, they cross over, they merge. You can't do it by storyline because, yeah, you're jumping backwards at times. And in some cases, it doesn't quite, in some cases it even overlaps, so it gets a bit confusing. And then also, on top of that, you can't go chronologically either because, again, it overlaps, it overlaps, it jumps, it goes, and in some cases, there is situations where more than one Sandman are operating at the same time.
I shall represent myself.
So Raze is going to do his best, but you can't do anything without starting with the first character to come out that was Sandman, and that is Wesley Dodds. Wesley Dodds, he is known because of his gas mask, his long coat. He had the sleep gun that would put people to sleep. One of Raze's favorite characters, to be perfectly honest. The Sandman name is one that is held in reverence with Raze Chaos. But as he went on, he was another character that Jack Kirby went ahead. I mean, Jack Kirby did not create Sandman, but he did take over him for a while, and he actually changed his costume and gave him a sidekick who was Sandy the Golden Boy. And basically made him more like Captain America, because it was Jack Kirby and Joe Simon, and they are the guys that created Captain America. They came here, they altered the Sandman to be more like what they were wanting to write and create. They created the Guardian, who had a very similar costume to what they changed the Sandman's costume to, and then yeah, it just started getting confusing. The Sandman was not a very good selling character, so they eventually lobbed him in with the Justice Society and decided by the 70s that they were going to do something different.
I'm just feeding the birds.
That something different was Garrett Sanford, which was Jack Kirby's own creation, just taking the name from Wesley Dodds, and he just basically he wanted to make a more like the fictional mythological Sandman. He was the guy who actually put you to sleep. He lived in the dream dimension. He had like two little assistants that were dreams. It was Brute and Glob, and they basically fought evil wizards that wanted to attack people in their sleep. It didn't really go over all that well. It didn't go over. I mean, they tried, but essentially DC was at a point where they were like, you know what? If we don't have to put this guy in, I mean, the guy lives in the dream dimension. We don't have to have him ever show up because the only way to get to him is through sleep. So everybody's always awake. So they just kind of let him fester there for a while. They did nothing with the character. And, eventually they kind of brought Wesley Dodds back. There was a brief moment where they had somebody else take the Sandman role, and that was Kieran Marshall, but that was a one-shot. That was done in Sandman Mystery Theater, and that was like a one-shot adventure. Somebody who was directly inspired. He was a photojournalist that was inspired by Wesley Dodds when Wesley Dodds came to visit, and he acted as the Sandman to solve one particular situation and then never went back to it. So Wesley Dodds was the reigning champion as far as Sandman names go. But then in the much later, post-crisis, after all that happened, Neil Gaiman came into the picture. And Neil Gaiman decided to go ahead and take aspects of everything and merge them together. He essentially created the Sandman, or Dream. And why hasn't this character been around for longer? They actually explain it. They have Dream, or Morpheus, actually get abducted, and due to a rich billionaire who is attempting to capture death so he can avoid death, and he's into the occult. He's along the lines of Aleister Crowley, who would dabble in these kind of things. This guy went ahead and he thought he had captured death, and so he was keeping it captive. And when he realized his mistake, he knew he couldn't let this anthropomorphic being of that is essentially the Lord of Dreams. He is the ruler of the dream dimension. You really don't want somebody like that after you. So he essentially keeps him kidnapped, takes away his artifacts, and does his best to convince Dream to summon his sister so he can make a deal out of him so he can never die. And when he goes all the way to his death without ever accomplishing that goal, his son takes over his estate, and basically he's kind of feels like he's got the same curse going on.
Shall I use it to haunt your dreams? And your waking hours too?
But what does that do? That essentially, with Dream not being in charge of his realm, that means that Wesley Dodds has some very, very prophetic and strange dreams, because there is nobody controlling the dream dimension. And that is what inspires Wesley Dodds to become the Sandman. It's his prophetic dreams, he doesn't necessarily see the future, but he gets glimpses of bad things to come. And while it's not like set and cut, like he knows exactly what's going to happen, it's enough to motivate him to get up there and try and prevent whatever this danger is. And so that was added to the Sandman mythology just perfectly. And of course, what about Sanford? Good old Sanford. while he was supposed to be the guy who was the legendary Sandman who put you to sleep, as it turns out, he was just a guy who was basically manipulated by Brute and Glob, who weren't dreams, but they were actually nightmares. And they had escaped from the dream dimension and made their own little pocket version of it. And essentially were feeding off of his life energy the entire time, acting as though they were his sidekicks. And, essentially, yeah, that was kind of a problem. Yeah, before they did, and while they do that, essentially Garrett ends up killing himself due to being lonely as being the Sandman. He's stuck alone in everybody else's dream. They have an Infinity Inc. story where they essentially go there to cause some problems that are happening in dreams, and essentially, since Infinity Inc. was essentially the Justice Society's legacy characters, they had to do something with a couple of the characters that basically the Crisis was going to cause a problem with. One of those characters was Hector Hall, who is the son of Hawkman and Hawkgirl. So he's a loved character, but they didn't know what to do with him, because essentially in the new continuity, Hawkman and Hawkgirl have their own thing. They were altered to be different. You already had a Silver Age Hawkman who wasn't the same as the Golden Age Hawkman, and Hector Hall was the son of the Golden Age Hawkman. So I mean, trying to clean up their continuity, they did it again. They basically slapped Hector Hall into the dream dimension to where you didn't have to deal with him ever again. And along with doing so, you had another character that was going to be problematic, and that was Hippolyta Trevor, who was Wonder Woman and Steve Trevor's son from World War II. Or daughter, I'm sorry. Daughter. She went by Fury, and she is the Golden Age Wonder Woman's daughter. And again, when they were revamping, redoing and everything, making a younger Wonder Woman for the regular continuity, that really was going to be problematic, having a daughter of Wonder Woman running around when Wonder Woman is first appearing post-Crisis, and nobody knows who she is until, she reveals herself. But it's just like, but wait, her daughter's been running around. So they slapped her in there again. They just basically made it to where, yeah, Hector's not going to go crazy because he's got Hippolyta in there with him, his wife, and she's pregnant, so that's going to be wonderful. So they figured, yeah, we don't have to go back to them. They are having their married life with in the dream dimension, and everything's going to be hunky-dory. Well, that wasn't the case. Which is funny, because if you watch the Sandman TV show on Netflix, they don't really go over the fact that the Lita Hall that you're seeing on the screen is actually supposed to be the Golden Age Wonder Woman's daughter. And the Hector she's pining for, yeah, that's Hawkman's son. So it's just like, wow. That's part of the reason why I love that series, even though they had to hide the fact that it was connected to the greater DC universe. So you've got that problem. Then when Dream comes back, he says, "Who are you guys? You're not who you're supposed to be." And essentially Hector dies while he basically pushes Hippolyta Hall, or Fury, out into the real world. And of course, while this is happening, Sandy the Golden Boy grows up to become the new Sandman, eventually shortening his name to just Sand. So yeah, the number of people being Sandman, the number keeps going up. And the big thing is that Lita was pregnant when she went into the dreaming, when she went into Sandman's realm. And she was still pregnant when he expelled her and said, you cannot stay here. Well, the problem is she was pregnant for roughly 10 years because she didn't give birth in the dreaming. Time works differently there. And so that was something that Morpheus knew he had to pay attention to. And so, yeah, it got really confusing. The baby was eventually born. I believe he was actually ended up being born in the dreaming. Since the dream was back, he could allow the birth to happen, but sent them back to the real world. And then you continue on with the dream story as it goes. I told you it was going to be long and it was convoluted, and I think I've hit every one of the Sandman at this point. Because yeah, that's 7. 7. I think it's funny. It's 7 endless. It's 7 versions of Sandman that have nothing to. Most of them don't have much to do with the actual endless, but 7's a reoccurring number as far as that goes. But we are going to go ahead and put this guy away because he's getting tired. And we are going to talk more about Dream. So yeah, if you're still awake, Dream's going to go ahead and put you to sleep. That was a long explanation of everything as far as, how many Sandmen there were. But I couldn't really help it because, you know how Raze is with his DC history. And when you hit a vein like that, I had no choice but to let it flow.
There are rules, protocols which must be followed.
But yeah, this is Morpheus, and he is the Lord of the Dreams, and one of my favorite series of all time. And part of the reason was because it took such a backdoor look at the DC universe. It was so connected, and of course, the series actually starts out with his captivity and him being robbed of his treasures, and showing like how this captivity has affected the DC universe in general. Like his amulet was basically ended up in the hands of a person called Dr. Destiny, who was a Justice League villain who used to fight people in their dreams. And he goes to retrieve his artifacts.
Something of mine came into your possession. A leather pouch filled with sand.
Which, when he gets his artifacts, he basically points out that these are just extensions of himself. It was something he put his power into, and kept it separate. But it no longer made sense, because in doing so, he'd weakened himself to the point where he could get captured, and so to prevent that from happening again, he takes the amulet, he absorbs it back into himself. They do it differently in the TV series than they do in the comics. But yes, he essentially comes and he grabs his artifacts back, and including his helm and his bag of sand, to basically become whole again. And it's a great series because when he's on this quest, at one point he runs into the Martian Manhunter, and when the Martian Manhunter sees him, he sees the Lord of Dreams. One of my favorite aspects about the Sandman series is every time he was seen differently, because everybody has their own idea as to what the Lord of Dreams would look like. And seeing as how he basically lives in your imagination, you are controlling what he looks like, or how he appears to you. There are series where basically cats were the main focus of it, and he appeared as a cat. There are several, there's one story in particular where he has to go back. It's actually a prequel to the battle, which shows why he's exhausted to begin with, where he's able to get captured, where he actually has to meet up with himself over and over again, and he finds himself very distasteful, because of course he would. An exact copy of you is not somebody you would get along with. You both want the same things, and you both have the same thought, and that's just going to get annoying. But What the other thing I loved about the Sandman series is that it was, even though it was an ongoing series and it went on for years, it was determined from the very beginning that this was going to have a very specific start and a very specific end. And of course, naturally, that leads to Dream's death, which, since, I mean, obviously, if so much trouble happened because he was captured, what's his death going to be? But they do explain throughout the series that the Endless can have something come and assume its place, and there have been successors, and they can change because who is it? Delirium used to be Delight till something happened, but they've never explained what happened, and that's one of the mysteries left in the series that they haven't touched yet. And being as how Neil Gaiman's kind of been taken off the board for quite a while, we may never know. It's not impossible, but yeah, we'll never know exactly what he had initially intended for that to be. It is something that is wonderful and curious, but left to your own imagination. So yeah, there is to be a successor to Morpheus, and if you hadn't put it together by now, it would have been the child that had been gestating for 10 years in the dream. So essentially, Hector and Lita's son, Daniel, essentially is destined to become Morpheus's replacement. And he even says in the series that he is not Morpheus, he is Dream, and that's what he goes by.
I accept the terms.
The black-haired, pale, dark-dressed version of Dream or Morpheus is the one that's most popular. He is not the current one. And they even point out at one point where Dream actually, Morpheus actually appears in a dream, and they're just like, well, if you're dead, how can you be here? And he's just like, well, as long as people have a memory of you in your dreams, can you actually even really die in dreams?
The entire collective unconscious. Without my rules, it would consume me. Humanity would be consumed.
And, I mean, there's all kinds of... The themes in that series were just so deep and so just on top of each other. It was beautiful. But, yeah, Raze has gone on and on about Dream for a while, so we're just going to go ahead and take this guy out, and we're going to have a look at him.
I'll come with you, I suppose.
Okay, this version is a lot different than what Raze was thinking. A little bit of a surprise. Just looking at the package, you would assume that they've basically have the character and it be connected to a base that is the whirlwind of sand that's going on here. But no, you can actually move this around because that's a completely separate piece. You could actually take this off if you really wanted to, but I don't really see how you could do that without actually scraping the vinyl against the other vinyl and causing damage. But that makes it weird because now he's got like this whole separate piece right under there, and yeah, Ray's gonna leave him like that because that's too weird. But it is a great version of how Dream would appear in the sands. He's carrying a handful of sand right there. This is absolutely lovely. You've got his bag of sand in his hand that he's pouring, that tornadoes around him. You could have that go either way, where he turns into a dust devil or a Sirocco. The wind in the desert that's just basically sand. That could be the way of his traveling, or it could just be the way he dissolves into nothing is it swirls around him and he's gone, and he's able to teleport wherever he is, because essentially he is everywhere at once. They have established that several times, that wherever somebody is dreaming, he is there. You don't dream without him guiding you and making sure that you wake up, making sure you don't get stuck in a dream, making sure that it all runs the way it's supposed to, and that a lot of the trouble that happened with him being in captivity for 100 years generated from him being away from his realm. And so a lot of that is him fixing a lot of the damage that happened there.
Because without it, my realm will cease to exist, and if dreams disappear, then so will humanity.
It's just so well done, so intertwined, so greatly done. I love the fact that they've actually got Matthew the Raven on his hand.
Who are you? Tell me your name.
It's, Matthew, sir.
Who is essentially it's supposed to be his connection to the waking world. And I always loved that, because that character, I believe I went into detail with this with the Lucian video, where I talked about how Matthew was actually Matthew Cable at one point, and he was actually connected to the Swamp Thing series. And yeah, it just, I love how he took so many things and melded them together. He took a lot of the as far as Neil Gaiman go, when he created the Sandman series, he took a lot of the old horror comics, anthology horror stuff, and made them specific dream areas in the dreaming. So he was able to bring these characters into the regular continuity. And playing with dreams made him be able to do anything, and it expanded on even some of the crazier ideas as far as where certain stories fit in continuity, because Raze has always said that if you can take what you like of any specific character and decide that everything else is not your continuity. You can follow a very specific Batman or a very specific Superman, and even though other stories can contradict that, you don't have to change that. And the way they did the Sandman series, they gave you an out there too, to where anything you don't want necessarily to be in continuity could have been like a nightmare that character had, where that didn't actually happen. He was asleep, he was having a horrible dream, and as cheap as it is to say, oh, it was just a dream, if you're the one deciding what was just a dream and what's not, it makes everything fit into place into regular continuity. It was a really, really wise version of being able to connect and keep all those stories, especially after the crisis wiped out so much of its history. Again, it's one of the things that, while it's a huge cluster, it's one of the things that Raze loves about the DC continuity, is because it is pick and choose. It's restarted a couple times. You can take what you want, and you don't. Marvel hasn't had something like that, so they have a ton of backstory on every established character, and trying to catch it all and considering it's all part of continuity, no matter what creative teams have done what. It gets confusing trying to make it all fit, and I believe that using the dreaming is an excellent little escape for them to be able to keep stuff that they wiped out, if you want to keep it. So, yeah, Raze just went on a tirade.
Does that make sense?
But Raze has yet to watch the second season and is looking forward to it. He has the second season, he just hasn't watched it yet. Really happy with this pop. But I'd like to hear from the people watching. I would like to hear whether you are a Sandman fan or not. Whether the controversy going on with this version's creator Neil Gaiman, if that has turned you off of the Sandman series, if or any of his creations really, because they're kind of hard to get away from at this point. Because Death is a very popular character, and Death being Death, she'll survive. She's gonna keep going, because how do you really get rid of Death? It's what is DC that they have shied away from touching the characters, but would you still want to see more endless characters and see versions of his stories written by anybody other than Neil Gaiman, or do you think they should just all kind of let them lie as they are? And which version of the Sandman was your favorite? Which Sandman was your first? Was it Wesley Dodds? He was a lot of people's first. And was it Morpheus? I mean, when you've got a character name that has been around since the very beginning of comics, because yes, the original Sandman came out alongside Superman, who was the first. Wesley Dodds is one of those first wave of characters that first came out. So he's been around since the beginning. So the Sandman name has always been out there. And being that there are 7 versions of him, 7 versions of that name, I'd be interested in knowing who the Sandman is represented by you, and how many of them you've read, how many have you been interested in. And there's just so much to tackle, but Raze doesn't mind talking Sandman, so if you've got a thing, you just go ahead and let me know. You go ahead and tell me. There's so much to unpack when you've got a name that has spanned that amount of time and that many characters, and had basically important key storylines in all different continuities. Because the Golden Age characters tend to do that. But let me know your thoughts on whether you're still a fan of Sandman or still a fan of Dream, like Raze is. Because no matter what happens to the creator or what the creator has done, he appreciated the art before, he's going to appreciate the art afterwards, even if he's not going to support the creator. It's just that simple. Raze always has to say something because of the weird stuff coming out about him, but we're all still in the allegations, the allegation point as far as Raze's phrase knows, but it doesn't look good. But at any rate, Raze has finally got his Sandman, his second version of the Endless. So far, they've only done Dream and they've only done Death as far as Funko Pops. As for the other 5, we're probably not going to get them. There's a good possibility we won't. As much as Raze would love to have them all, getting all 7 is almost impossible. They have attempted a couple different times of doing like the Endless in action figures. They've attempted to do them as plushies. But they only get so far, because the minute you get away from the 2 most popular, it gets harder and harder to find buyers. But let me know who your favorite member of the Endless is if you follow them. Just talk to Raze about the Sandman, any part of it. The World War II, the Dream Dimension, the Sandman Morpheus era, the Sandman who essentially used to be Sandy the Golden Boy and is now known as Sand. Like the Sandman name will go on in DC Comics. Just let me know. Just tell me which version of it you enjoy the most. Because Raze has got to get out of here now, because he has. I think he took a sharp turn at some point, and he's kind of broken something in here, and he needs to have a rest. So I'm going to go ahead and get out of here now. I hope you've had a great day, and I hope you continue to have a great day. Hope to see you back here with Raze, and hopefully a less convoluted character that's not going to strain his brain as far as keeping up with it all. But never forget, life is full of odd moments, and you never know when you're going to be defined.